Hey everyone, welcome to Herding Little Cows to the Glory of God. I'm not usually behind the camera much. I'm Virginia. I am the oldest daughter of Mark and Sarah Cowperthwaite, and I'm the oldest child at home right now. So I just wanted to make a video, as September is Dystonia Awareness Month, about my life as the oldest daughter and one of the caregivers for my father with dystonia. So dystonia can affect different people in different ways, but this is just going to be as it relates to my father's personal experience with dystonia and his certain triggers and condition and how to deal with that. So one of the things I've noticed is that people want to help as my father is having a storm, a dystonic storm. And those are periodic because it's paroxysmal kinesiogenic dystonia. So it happens at different times. Sometimes he can be feeling fine, other times he can be having a storm. So these storms can come on very quickly. And people want to help, but sometimes don't know how. So one thing that my dad has talked about before, as he's made another video about dystonia, is don't touch him. Touching him, especially when he's not expecting it, can actually make him jump and go into convulsions. His body will convulse. And so that's actually something that may seem like it will help, but can actually cause more problems. So avoid touching him if he's having a spell. Sorry, my lighting is a little off. Oh, well, we'll deal with it. So sometimes my dad will just need somebody to help support him as he's walking or standing, that sort of thing. And it can look as easy as me holding his hand or standing in front of him so he can hold on to my shoulders. And those might look very simple, but there's actually a lot of complexity behind those actions. And I just wanted to explain a little bit about that. So like, say I'm standing, I see that my dad's having a hard time, so I go to stand in front of him. Well, if he's going to be holding on to my shoulders, it might look like he's just holding on to something for support. But you also need to be thinking about his triggers. So, for example, I have long hair. So if I have my hair sitting on my shoulder like this and he holds on, I can actually be standing there thinking, okay, is the sensation of him touching my hair going to be causing him more problems? Is that a trigger for him right now? And is that going to make his storm worse? Or in the certain way that I'm standing there or sitting there, if he's starting to fall over, sitting in a chair or on a pew at church, that sort of thing. If I sit next to him, am I breathing on his arm and my breath is actually going to be causing him more problems? Is that another trigger? So there's a lot of different things that can trigger him. It can be sound. Are you standing there holding his hand while you're humming? Because humming can cause problems. And so there's a lot of different things to think about there. So let's see, breathing, touch, thinking, okay, he looks unstable. Is he going to be falling over as he's sitting there in that chair? I can put my hand on him and hold him up, but touch can also cause him to go into a spell. So I need to make sure that he knows I'm there. If I walk up behind him and say, hey daddy, you look like you're having a hard time, can I help out? I could actually spook him and cause him to go into a convulsion. If he's standing up, that can even cause more problems with balance and stability and things like that. So if I'm trying to hold him up in a chair, I also need to be thinking, am I holding on to him firmly enough that I'm not lightly touching him, which is going to cause him more problems? Am I putting on too much pressure that I'm going to be hurting him? That sort of thing. The other thing about it, as I'm holding him up, as he's standing, sitting, whatever it may be, is this spell similar to all of his other spells? Is this normal, or is he acting differently? That sort of thing. Whereas another person might say, he's having trouble, I need to help him. I can say, daddy, do you need help? Because he might decide, nope, I'm okay, I'm going to do this on my own, I don't need anything. He may want a hand, he may want stability. That's his preference at the time. So that's something that needs to be taken into account instead of just helping him, saying, do you need me? Do you need somebody to help you walk? Do you need this thing? That sort of thing. So there's a lot of things that I know as a daughter who's living in the home with him, knowing what his spells look like. If he's holding on to my shoulders, I could say, you know what, this seems different than a regular spell. I should ask about this. Is this thing okay? That sort of thing. So that's just a little bit of the complexity that goes into it. So if you see my dad having a spell, please offer to help. Please don't touch him, like we've said before. It's not to be rude. That's just one of the things that is a common thing that people want to do that causes issues. That's why we mention it so much. So just offer to help. That could be going to get a cup of water and we'll help him drink that. It could be lots of different things. It could be just asking people to leave so that there's not as much stimulus on his brain, that sort of thing. So also just a little bit about sharing my life as a caregiver and as an older child in the home. I drive now. My dad does not drive because of his condition, but I have my license. So if we go out in town, unless we all have to go as a family, sometimes my dad and I will go to the store and things like that. One of the things that a lot of older daughters don't need to think about is the fear I have of leaving my father alone. I know that he can do things on his own and that sort of thing, and that's not what I don't mean to demean him in any way in this, but I don't like leaving my dad alone, even if it's to go get a test and a medical procedure. I don't like that idea because I know that he can go into these spells so quickly, and a lot of people don't know how to help him. They'll want to call an ambulance, that sort of thing. They can't understand his body motions, his convulsing, his slurred speech, what they can do to help him if he needs support, whatever that may be. So that's one of those things that is different for me living with a father with dystonia, is not wanting to leave him alone. A lot of people just have their fathers go off to work, and my dad would love to do that if he were able to, but because of his medical condition, he's unable to do that at this time. So that's just one of the things that my life is different than others. I also do a lot of the driving when my dad needs to go out to the store, that sort of thing. Go with him into the stores, go with him to doctor's appointments because my dad also has cognitive issues that go along with his dystonia. So he can't remember everything that the doctor says. Speaking to the doctor's office when they call because he has problems on the phone. Doing all of these sort of things also in full-time ministry, like not full-time ministry, but street ministry that we do, when we're able to get out and do that with my father's condition, I need to make sure that he's okay on the street. He also watches out for me and is very good about being protective of us if there's anything sketchy going on or any problems, but also realizing that he can't deal well with stress. So if there were to be an issue, he might have troubles and I might need to go help, that sort of thing. But a lot of my life is different than other young women because I'm a caregiver for my father, and this is not to complain about this in any way because I enjoy my life as I have it and the opportunities that God has given me and the ability to be able to serve in my family. So I really enjoy that, but there's a difference that a lot of people don't really understand about my life because I live with this. So I am one of the primary caregivers of my father. My mom does a lot of care, but when we're out in public, a lot of the time I'll be the one helping to hold his hand as he's walking, if he needs that stability, that sort of thing, walking with him through the store. Even church can cause issues for him and set him into a storm. Or he'll have storms at church, even if it's not necessarily something at church, it'll come on at that time. So having to run outside to get his wheelchair out of the van because he doesn't need it all the time, but if he's having a storm and isn't able to move on his own, we have to go get the wheelchair, helping him into the wheelchair, making sure that he's safe in the position where he is, and having to play referee, explaining the situation to other people that come by and want to help, or, oh, is he okay? What's wrong? Can I do something? Trying to say, yes, he's fine, this is the sort of thing, and having to deal with a lot of people who don't understand dystonia because it's a very rare condition. I've even had police officers out on the street say, do I need to call an ambulance? Are you okay? Let us know if there's anything we can do to help. And just having to explain that to a lot of people who don't understand it. For me, it's an everyday reality for me currently. This has been happening on and off. He's had times in the past where he's been good for years on end and not having these issues, and then there will be years where he does have these issues. So it's been, I think, about 3 years since this last time period of a lot of dystonic storms. So I'm used to the reality of, hey guys, we need to quiet down because daddy's having a hard time and it's overwhelming to his brain right now. Oh, can you guys stop banging on that? Can you stop humming? And even having to be in the situation of being over at friends' houses and thinking, okay, that noise that's happening right now is probably driving daddy insane. But should I say something? Should I not say something? What should happen? What should I do? And just a lot of things that I have to think through as I live in this reality that a lot of people aren't used to. And I know that most people do not do it. I don't think anybody does it thinking, I'm going to cause Mark to have a problem. It's just a unconscious thing that you do of tapping your foot on the floor or clicking your tongue or humming or things like that that can cause issues, but most people don't realize that. So just having to live that way. And I have lots of opportunities to do things. I pursue my goals. I'm passionate about certain things, and my parents give me time to do that, and I am not lacking in any way. I'm being raised in a wonderful home and reaching the things that I am attaining to, and I'm thankful for the opportunity that my parents have given me for that. But my life is also different in being a caregiver and thinking about, can I do this thing this certain way, or is that going to cause problems to my dad? Is it, okay, I want to have these people, the LDS missionaries, into our home to witness to them, but we have to do that in the morning because if we do it in the evening, Daddy's going to be having more of a hard time. That sort of thing, that I can still do those things, but I have to work them around my father's condition in making sure that this is the best way for our entire family to do it. So that's just a little bit of my life as a caregiver, having to think consciously through the things that most people wouldn't even think about. Like, okay, where is my hair sitting on my shoulder when I'm next to my dad? Is it okay to be holding his hand or touching him on the shoulder at this time, or is that going to cause him into a spell? If I go to, when he's working on something in his room, if I open the door, am I going to scare him? I remember one time, my younger sister was out with my dad on a walk, and they were coming home, and Daddy was having a hard time. So I'm like, oh, I'll go out and see if they need anything. And I walked out the door and scared him as he was walking, just by going out the door and calling, hey, do you need anything? So just trying to think through, what things am I going to do that's going to unconsciously set my dad into a storm? And it's an interesting life that a lot of people don't have to deal with, but it's just become part of our everyday reality and trying to adjust to the things that God has given us in our home. And so we're very thankful for the opportunities that God has given us, even through this dystonia, giving us more time for ministry, more time for travel to encourage other saints around the country and to be able to do ministry with them, and just to experience Christian fellowship, seeing the love of Christians for one another as they help through this time. So I think, just in summary, thank you for your willingness to help and your desire to help when you see my father having a dystonic storm. We really appreciate you asking, what can I do? Is he okay? Praying for him. I would suggest, we love it when people come over and pray for him during a dystonic storm. That's really encouraging. But if you just remember it, try to pray for, just say, hey, I'm going to pray for you, or just start praying. Either way is fine, but don't put your hand on him. Just stand nearby so that he can hear everything that you're saying during a storm. He may not be able to respond, but he can hear you. He does appreciate it, but the touch, again, can cause even more convulsions and things like that. So also just, we will tell you if there's a way that you can help. If we need another support so that you can hold his arm as he's walking, help him to stand up, transfer to the wheelchair, whatever it may be. If he's falling over and we're not nearby, okay, just sit next to him, let him lean up against your shoulder. Try not to touch him lightly, as that can cause even more problems, touching him without expecting it, sneaking up on him, loud noises, humming, whistling, tapping things. There's a lot of different things that can cause dystonic storms, especially with my father. Other people have different triggers, so this is specifically to my father's condition. But it may not look as easy as it is. It might just look like I'm standing there holding his hand, and you could say, oh, I could have done that, and if we need you to hold his hand to help him have stability, we will let you know that. But it might be, again, make sure that my hair isn't causing him problems. Make sure that I'm not breathing on him, touching him too lightly, spooking him, things like that. And just remembering those caregivers who are dealing with parents, siblings, other people that they know with medical conditions, not just dystonia. Dystonia is specifically what I'm talking about, as it has affected our family life so much, and September is Dystonia Awareness Month. But also just any condition where children, spouses, whatever it may be, are having to take care of somebody else and giving of themselves to do that, remembering them and praying for them in their time. And we know lots of people who deal with kids with special needs, parents with special needs, things like that. And it's very good to see family members stepping up and loving those whom God has placed in their life in spite of the difficulties, in spite of the challenges. And so we thank you for your desire to help. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I hope that it can just explain a little bit about the complexities behind dystonia and dealing with dystonia patients, and just how dystonia doesn't affect only the person who has it, but it affects their family life. And again, this is not to complain in any way, as I am very thankful for the home that God has given me and the opportunities that He has given me to serve within my family. But life does look very different when you have a parent with dystonia, in the responsibilities of driving around, going to doctor's appointments because you can't remember what was said, and having to make sure that you get the medical information that's necessary. And just helping him walk through the store, going to DMV, reminding him of something that's going to happen because he doesn't always remember when we need to go out in town, things like that. So just the unique opportunities that family members have when they're dealing with a family member with dystonia. And I hope this will just give you a glimpse into my life, and I hope that you all have a great day, and thank you for taking the time to watch. Thank you for joining us on Herding Little Cows to the Glory of God.